My apologies for us not starting exactly on the 10:30 scheduled time. I'm aware that day 2 in the morning, people might be a little bit slow, so I thought we'd allow that little bit of extra time because we've got some great speakers, and for those people who weren't able to be here right on the starting time, I don't want them to miss out on what you're going to say. So let me introduce the first speaker. The first part of the session this morning is around fuels and lubricants. And to begin the session this morning, to talk about new generation oils, we have Mr. Ranjan Guha, who is the Manager, Sales and Business Development for ENOC International. Ranjan is a mechanical engineer. He's the Head of Sales and Business Development of ENOC Lubricants. He's been with ENOC for over 6 years now and has been instrumental in making ENOC Lubricants one of the fastest growing lubricant brands in the Middle East.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Automechanika Academy is scheduled to open at 10:30 in Hall 1, step number 1AM239. Thank you.
Thank you. Ranjan has worked in the field of spare parts, construction, equipment sales, welding consumables before shifting to lubricants, and dare I say it was a smooth move. Think about it, okay. Over the last 15 years he's worked in the lubricants fields with a number of companies, and he's now keen on making ENOC Lubricants a preferred choice for the customer by introducing some unmatched ENOC products in this part of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ranjan Guha.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ranjan, and whoever wrote that introduction speech for me, or introduction for me, deserves a treat. Excellent work. We're starting around 15-20 minutes late, so technically my time is up. Now it depends on you how fast I go. I can go my favorite colleague way, just run through the slides without speaking a word and say, that's it. Or else, let's take some, I won't be long. What we're going to do over here is, that's the agenda, a very short one. I'll just introduce ENOC Group, which we are so proud to work with. The changes which is happening in the automobile world. These changes, what demands it brings on to the lubricants, and what is the ENOC response. So 2 ENOCs and 2 non-ENOCs in the agenda. Obviously, that has to be. I'm paid by ENOC. So, a quick introduction to ENOC Group. We have over 30 group companies. We are at the moment trading in over 55 countries with our offices in London, Singapore, KL, Turkmenistan, Djibouti, and our headquarters is in Dubai. We are engaged both in upstream and downstream, but we are primarily a downstream marketing company. We have one of the most wonderful, technically updated fuel stations across in the Middle East, and we might take the pride of bringing this system first time in this part of the world. And we have the state of art. That's an understatement. It's one of the biggest, largest, volume-wise, technically, the lube blending plant in Asia, Africa, and Middle East. This year, 2013, will be blending close to 225 million liters. So that's huge. One single plant delivering to 55 countries and blending over 235 million liters. ENOC as a company is fully owned by the government of Dubai. So we insist and we take pride in mentioning that it's a government of Dubai company. Normally government companies are not insisted on or not impressed on, but you know Dubai, the way it has come up over the last 15-17 years or so, we fully belong to that group in marketing Dubai more than the ENOC lubricants per se. And it's chaired by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum. He's the Deputy Ruler of Dubai and UAE Minister of Finance and Industry. So, coming to the changes, what changes has happened? This is just a pictorial representation of what has happened. If you look at 1980s and you look at 2009 figure, the same truck traveling the same distances, the same make, the particulate matter has reduced by, in decimals, come down by a huge percentage. From 470 pounds of particulate matter in 120,000 miles, it has come down to 8 pounds. So this is for diesel engines. Look at the passenger cars, it's even lesser. So these changes, which has reduced the pollution to the environment, how did it happen? So we'll quickly go through how it happened and what has been the lubricants industry's responses and what has been ENOC response. Primarily, it has been achieved by 4 major components. First is piston design itself is modified. If the people who are like me, old enough to have studied engineering in the 80s and 70s, the piston which we studied at that time, and if you look at the piston today, you probably wouldn't identify it as a piston. Combustion control is modified. EGR played an important role, and after exhaust after treatment devices, we call it the ATDs. So all the combination of all 4 had reduced that 80 pounds to 2 pounds and 480 pounds to 8 pounds of particulate matter. Just to give you a pictorial evidence, the piston today looks different. What it tries to do is to increase the combustion area so that more fuel is burnt and more engine becomes more efficient by producing lesser amount of unburnt fuel. By modifying the combustion control, by changing the injectors, it used to be all the manual, the carburetor type. If I look at the gasoline engines, turbochargers today is a much common word than it used to be even 15 years back. And engine management system, today the mechanic's job has gone. Earlier we used to fine-tune the engines by trial and error method, by the experience of the mechanics. Today the computer system takes care of everything. EGR, this has come out to be one of the major reasons of reducing the NOx produced by the engine and coming out from the exhaust to the environment. What it basically does is exhaust gas recirculation. 5 to 15% of the exhaust gas is cooled and is again injected back to the cylinder. This lowers the temperature of the combustion of the engine, which primarily reduces to reduction of NOx gases into the atmosphere. However, a couple of points over there that it may contain undesired particles because it's an exhaust gas after all, and may increase soot formation. After treatment devices, this has played such an important part in reducing the pollution over there. The 3-way catalyst, basically after treatment devices are all to reduce the carbon monoxide, the nitrogen oxides, nitrogen dioxides, which are the most harmful for the pollution, and make it to either inert or environmental favorable or lesser poisonous gases. So if you look at the 3-way catalyst, it actually, the carbon monoxides and the hydrocarbons and the NOxes, they are reduced to carbon dioxide, which is not very good, but better than carbon monoxide. It will water and nitrogen in the air. Similarly, the selective catalyst reduction, it actually employs a third-party reagent to reduce again the NOx to less harmful nitrogen and water. And diesel particulate filter, these are mainly to capture the bigger particles in the exhaust. And what it does is a very simple way, it's ceramic tubes. The gas comes in over here and the particulate matters are trapped because this end is closed and the gases go through the exhaust through the porcelain or the ceramic sides. So basically it will block the DPF after a certain point of time, but till that time the particulate matters are basically captured. So these challenges, what challenges it brings on to the lubricants? High sulfated ash, higher temperature, the phosphorus and sulfur content of the additives. As you know, lubricants are basically base oil and additives together. Demand higher fuel efficiency. That has been the rule of the world over the last 4 or 5 years. If you look at the huge cars, huge American cars and the huge European cars today, you find very less. Probably we are lucky because in this part of the world it still exists. In most part of the world it's getting obsolete. Fuel efficiency has been the buzzword for the last 10-12 years. Everybody wants a larger oil drain interval, both in terms of saving money as well as saving the engine itself or the equipment itself. OEM approval for Euro 5, that's the most stringent one. And at the same time, it demands an after-treatment devices extension of life. And the green word is everywhere. Everybody wants an environmentally friendly product, at least the legislation part. Additionally, these are the traditional points that we know, that the engine size and weight has reduced over the years. If you compare the same horsepower being produced, in 1980 probably a car or a truck, if it was using 80 liters of oil in the sump, today it uses only 18 liters. So stress per unit of oil has reduced dramatically. Oil sump capacity reduced. Engine power output has increased with the same amount of engine oil doing the same work. Engine life is extended. Engine cleanliness demand is growing even more. And today if we say use a good oil, that to a layman would mean whatever keeps the engine cleaner. Average fuel economy, miles per gallon, this is the directive from the US government today. US never used to think about the average fuel economy and fuel efficiency. Today we see guidelines given to reduce it by 25%, reduce it to 25% in a matter of 10 years. Exhaust gas emissions tightened all over Euro 5 as we spoke about, and changes in fuel quality. So how does the world answer to lubricants? This is not pertaining to ENOC. The global lubricants is now going for the low SAPS lubricants, which helps in all the demands we just saw on the lubricants over here. This and this. This is the one-word answer for the world. So what is SAPS? It's a sulfated ash, phosphorus and sulfur. These are actually the non-combustible residue in an engine oil. So this comes primarily through the additive used in the oil itself. And what is the effect of sulfated ash? It can contribute to piston ring zone, deposit over a long time and leading to drop in efficiency, power and increase in fuel consumption. It also has its presence in the after-treatment devices. Some ash will escape through the exhaust, but beyond some limit, the sulfated ash phosphorus, that phosphorus part will deactivate the catalyst. As you know that when the unleaded petrol, gasoline was introduced, those days they used to say, if you don't use this, the catalytic converter goes. So actually, some elements react with the catalyst and render them useless. What are the values of the low SAPS lubricants? It has an enhanced performance. Whenever we say enhanced performance, performance would mean benefit to the customer. That means extended oil drain interval, extended equipment life, and also reduction in operation cost. It contributes to lowering the greenhouse gases which are detrimental to the environment. It can be used in the older equipment, can be used in a large spectrum of the sulfur content of the fuel, so primarily can be used almost in all countries. And longer life are after-treatment devices. All the after-treatment devices which are put into place just to reduce the pollution to the environment. If you use a low SAPS, if you don't use a low SAPS, let's go the other way around, then the ATD's life are just normal or reduced. You use a low SAPS and the life is extended. That was the world's answer. What ENOC did? We did a combination of all. Low SAPS, which is an answer, global answer. Along with low SAPS, we went for ILSAC GF5. ILSAC represents guaranteed fuel efficiency. GF5 is the latest in amongst ILSAC, and the previous best was GF4. So we went for low SAPS, we went for ILSAC GF5. In API, the best performance is SL. So instead of going for SL, which was the previous best performance, we went for the API SL. We went for the Dexos approval, which normally goes for all American cars except Dexos approval, which is from GM, and we went for the 504-507.00 of Volkswagen, which is the best amongst the European specification. So in what we have done basically, we combined all the best which is available for European cars, for American cars, for ILSAC approval, by API approval and by the SAPs, and combined it to give the offer. In my introduction I was told that you had heard that we are trying to introduce products which would be the niche in this part of the world and be the first in this part of the world. And now that I'm going to tell you that what products we have introduced, you'll find every other company has it in their kitty or in their portfolio. But in this part of the world, we are the first. So going forward, the low SAPs, we know that we just talked about it. It's an industry trend, it's an emission registration required, combustion efficiency, extra life of the ATVs. GM Dexos, okay, I'll come to this later. In the fuel efficiency, if you see, the GF4 and GF5, we could have introduced with GF4 also. The reason we went for GF5 is in the 10W30, if you see, in the same SAE grade. GF4 and GF5, there is a 36% difference in the fuel economy. Again, we could have gone for SN rather than SN, but SN would give a higher engine life, oil life and cleanliness than SN. GF4 and GF5, as you see, the turbocharger protection and the other allied factors. Most importantly, if you look at the GM Dexos approval, it exceeds the API SN and GF5 by lesser oil volatility, higher piston cleanliness, turbocharger protection and sludge control. So basically what we did was, instead of going traditional, we came up with the best and offered it, so that when competition comes in, we will always be a step ahead. As I repeated, and let me repeat it once more, we, in this part of the world, we are unique in offering the latest in the world. And when I say latest in the world, we are talking of the developed countries. Whatever gets introduced over there, 3 months guaranteed we will introduce over here. This is just a difference that if you have API SN and if you have a combination of API SN plus ILSAC GF5, how it looks like. In 5 of the 6 or 6 of the 7 parameters, you will find that for GF4 or for API SN, there were hardly any test parameters. Whereas with these API SN and ILSAC GF5, you have to pass the after treatment devices, the fuel economy test, the rust and emulsion test, turbocharger protection test, and seal protection. Engine cleanliness remains over there. Finally, coming to the ENOC answers, this was our first answer offered to Middle East in the year 2008. We came out with a low SAPs product for the first time, calling it green, referring to the environmental friendly attitude of it. It has the OEM approvals from API SN. That time this was the highest. SN was introduced late 2010, beginning 2011. ACA C3, A5, B5, BMW, latest specification or the highest specification of long life 04, Mercedes-Benz 9.51, which is the environmental friendly highest specification of Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen at 502 and 505.01, and Porsche. It had a long range interval capability, environmental friendly, and was possible to use in gasoline, CNG and diesel. The SAE grades available were 5W30 and 5W40 and after treatment device protection. What was unique about this product was it was giving the world-class approvals from the leading manufacturers of Europe, as well as after treatment device protection and helping in emitting lesser poisonous gases into the environment. The second product introduced in 2011 was again a low SAPs, and we called it the product Flex. Flex used to stand for what is highlighted in red. It would work with any kind of fuel. The biofuel technology is slowly catching up with the world, so we had to be prepared. Even before it was introduced, biofuel was introduced in this part of the world, we had come out with the product. And not only that, if you look at it, it had the ILSAC GF5 approval, the API SN. API SN was introduced later, last part, I think it's the last quarter of December in 2010. 2011, February, we launched this product. And SAE grades, we introduced the 0Ws over here, primarily for our cold cluster customers. and it had a superior. Green had a good after-treatment device protection, and this had a superior one. And what the last slide, this is the product we are introducing, this Automechanika. We call it Guha. Guha in Arabic means power. Why we chose to call it Guha was it represents power and unique in the sense that it is equally good for petrol and equally good for diesel engines. It has unmatched approval from ACEA A3, A5, B5, A1, B1. One of the first products in this part of the world having such an ACEA approval. However, to remember, ACEA is not well-known approval over here. It's primarily for Europe. We have the Volkswagen 504 and 507.00. If you look at the product name, it is called 4700, and it is derived from these words of 504 and 507. We took the 4 and the 7 and the double zeros. What is unique? This is the first product manufactured outside Europe having this Volkswagen approval. You have many products having 504 and 507.00 approved products, but all of them are either manufactured in Northern Americas or in Europe. First time a product from Middle East is manufactured and has the approval of Volkswagen 504.00 and 507.00. Along with that, what we attach to it is the BMW Long Life 04, which is the highest. And Ford diesel specs, what it gave this product was the best of Europe, the best of US cars are all engulfed and captured in the same product. This product gets introduced in this Automechanika and very soon spreads across the world. Available in 5W30 and excellent low temperature properties. More of this is available, shortage of time. I'm ending my presentation over here. The products, what we just saw, can be used in the fuel efficient vehicles, hybrid vehicles, any kind of fuel related vehicles. I can see already Mr. Moore standing over there, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I would expect more claps because in that case, thank you Arif, thank you Caroline for helping me in putting up this presentation together.
Ranjan, I'm going to ask you to have a seat over here. We will sit later on. We can take some questions at the end of this session. Do you know, I think it's fantastic that a local company is now at the forefront of lubricant development and the new lubricants that are coming on the market that are being developed here in Dubai. Let me just tell you something. This Protect Green, it's not. It's still a brownie kind of colour, isn't it? Really, it's and they're saying it's green. It's false advertising. So let me now introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is Mr. Steffen Niemietz, who is going to be talking about injection cleaner, protected fuel system and air conditioning cleaning system. Steffen is an application engineer with Liquimoly, professional car body repair with a master's degree. We only have the highest quality for people to present for us here, the experts. From January 2001 until the end of 2006, he worked for Mercedes-Benz in the R&D department. His job was to build the prototype test vehicles and support the vehicle test drives worldwide. What a great job. From 2007 to the end of 2009, he was working at Mercedes Smart Dealer as the service manager. But since January 2007, he's been working for Liquimoly at the R&D department, and his job is to develop products and to give trainings worldwide and also to do some technical support for their customers. So please join me in welcoming now Mr. Steffen Niemietz.
Hello, welcome to my presentation. First, I want to say thank you to you, very interesting. And you told a lot of things that will help me now to continue at this point. Because you're right, times changes, modern engine cars change, very difficult to older cars. And that all these facts work, reducing emission, reducing pollution, higher eventually the cars have to be clean inside, the engines have to be clean inside, the oil system has to be clean, the fuel system has to be in good condition to burn the fuel efficiently. First, I want to say some words to Liquimoly company. We are founded in 1957. We have 2 plants in Germany, We produce all of our products. We have more than 4,000 products in our product range. We all produce this in these 2 plants in Germany and ship from Germany to more than 110 countries worldwide. That means all products you get are basically from these 2 plants in Germany, so we can guarantee the same quality level all over the world. We're producing engine oils we develop in our own laboratories. We produce in our own plants. We have additives, fuel additives, oil additives, whatever. We have cleaning products, car care. If you would like to, please, you're invited to visit our stand in Hall 8. So beginning with the presentation, cleaning, injection cleaner and air conditioning cleaning. The matter here was green energy, safe environment. To have a healthy air also means have fresh air for yourself if you are in your car using AC cleaning system. This is the second part of my presentation. Many people forget the AC system. They just spray a deodorant spray in their cars and think everything is good. It's not, we will see that later. So, why clean the fuel system? Car body, lug finish, chrome parts, carpets, everything is cleaned and polished regularly. But what about the engine? As Mr. Ranjan said, fuel efficiency is the main matter last 10-15 years. So if something's wrong inside the engine, wrong means some blocked pistons, some blocked inlet valves, some blocked AGR rings, fuel burning could not be 100% efficiently. So you're losing performance, you increase fuel consumption, you increase oil consumption. So everybody has to be in perfect condition. When your car is brand new and leaving the manufacturer's plants, the car is in perfect condition. Only you have to care about that it stays in perfect condition to have maximum performance, maximum saving the environment. So modern car engines are high performance, energy saving, reliable, durable sometimes, but they need special lubricants and high quality fuel. They need cleaning and care. So the fuel changes also the last few years, but there are a lot of difference in fuel quality, especially in the content of sulfur in the fuel, depending from country to country, from continent to continent. Especially in Germany, we have a high quality fuel with a very, very low sulfur content in the fuel. But in other parts of the world, the sulfur content is very, very high. For example, in the diesel fuel, the sulfur content in Germany is regulated to 10 parts per million per liter. For example, in Asia or North America, we have up to 2,500 parts per million sulfur in the fuel. If you buy a brand new diesel car today, it's a high-tech car, turbocharged, up to triple turbocharged. With some BMW models now, we have common rail diesel injection system with up to 2,800 bar pressures. We have fine injectors with very fine holes. If only some parts there are blocked up with deposits, which are created from sulfur in the fuel, the car could not run efficiently. So we have to clean it. Poor fuel quality with high sulfur content may result in heavy carbon and soot deposits in or on the intake valves, combustion chambers, fuel injectors, intake chambers, intake system, everything that has to do with good burning. We see here some samples, and if you see a car that looks like that in the exhaust, something has to be wrong, because when the car was brand new, definitely did not look like that. To prevent these things, these causes, and to prevent getting in trouble, high risk of damage, of high repair risks, we have to clean this, because the dirt is the most common cause of engine malfunction today. We see dirt can be everywhere. We have dirt at the piston rings. If the piston ring is blocked, it cannot seal very good. You have a low combustion, the burning is bad. We have blocked inlet valves. We have blocked intake system. We have blocked injectors. We have blocked EGR valves. So this we have to take care of that this will not happen. How can you do that? You can use the right engine oil, you're right, with official approval, that's the main thing today, officially approval from the manufacturer, and you have to take care about also of the fuel. Because if an injector looks like this, we have poor combustion, high fuel consumption, increased emissions, many damage in the piston, and it's causing engine malfunction. So what you can do without going to a workshop is using a cleaner. Like when you have dirty hands, you first use the hand soap and then use the hand lotion. It's also for the fuel. Why do not take care of your fuel system using a product like injection cleaner? It removes carbon deposits from fuel distribution and injector valves, effective of all injection systems. Doesn't matter if 2-stroke or 4-stroke engines. Depends on how much you use it. What you have to do is only to fill up one of these bottles in your fuel tank when you're at the gas station in terms. So cleaning needs time, so it makes no sense if you have an engine with engine malfunction, just using one of these bottles and think, oh, it's thinking a miracle. This is not a miracle, it is a cleaner, and cleaning needs time. So if you have problems, use it in terms. If you want to do a protection, also use it in terms to make sure no deposits will be built up in your fuel system. This is how an injector should look. Spray is very fine injection. The more fine the fuel spray is, the more oxygen can react, the better is the fuel burning, so less fuel is staying in the combustion chamber that may also come into the oil system and damage the oil. So as finer the spray is, the better is the burning of the fuel, the lower our emission is the pollution and emission gases, the more healthy for environment of yourself. Coming to the AC system. First, in a country like here, you use your AC system 360 days a year because it's hot every time. So when an AC system is working, there is also always a lot of condensating water in the system. Bacteria, they like this. They live in this condensating water. It's always wet and warm, high humidity, so bacteria grow up. You feel it when you have a bad smell in your car. A lot of people go to a workshop and they clean the AC system by using a spray. Spray is okay. If you use a spray, you kill the bacteria. It smells fresh, but after a short while, this bad smell comes back again. Why? If you're only using a spray to clean the AC system, the bacteria will be killed, but still lay dead in your car. They're not flushed outside. So what we recommend is to clean the AC system in terms and using a liquid to flush out the killed bacteria. So you see here, bad smell, that's unhealthy for you, because our goal is not only to help the environment to stay good to live, yeah, also inside of the car, because you sit inside, this cause can react allergies and asthma and whatever. It's unhealthy. So we have a cleaning set. It's not only a spray, a gas, it's a liquid. It's for workshops. It's a professional cleaning. They find a way to the evaporator surface with an air pressure gun and a nozzle, and spray the cleaning liquid directly on the surface of the evaporator. So by doing this, bacteria will be killed and flushed out to the water drain holes of the car. So it stays longer fresh and it's free from killed bacteria. And it puts up a protection layer on the surface of the evaporator to prevent against building up other bacteria too fast. So this is a professional way for cleaning AC system. We also offer a spray for doing, sometimes if you have a bad smell in the car, maybe you have smoking in the car, so, but a professional cleaning is cleaning with a liquid. So, I'm at the end. I want to invite you to our stand on Hall 8. We have a lot of products. We have traditional German companies. If you're interested in or have more questions, this is not the right place to answer all your questions. You are invited to our stand at Hall 8. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steffen. Please join Ranjan on my right. Now, I wasn't aware that I need to get my air conditioning cleaning quite the same way that you're suggesting, but I'm going to ask them to do that. That sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? Okay. We're now going to the last speaker in this session in the fuels and lubricants area to talk about fuel and performance improvement. Our next speaker is Mr. Keith Norman, who is the Director of Dealer Choice for Total Resource International. After a number of years in various areas of operation during his somewhat varied career, 2008, in response to the UK and European directive to introduce biofuels, he set up Dealer Choice to provide a range of bespoke, tried and tested fuel additives to address the problems of biocontamination in bulk storage tanks. Working initially with high-volume petrol dealers and commercial vehicle operators, and then diversifying in providing a more comprehensive range of additives to the professional motor trade for use in service workshops. In 2010, he set up Road Flow Commercial Limited, a UK-based company providing fuel sampling and analysis services and specialist tank and fuel cleaning services to UK commercial vehicle and bulk diesel storage operators, providing practical advice, cost-effective and proven solutions to maintaining diesel fuels to the high quality necessary to maintain the reliability of ever more sophisticated commercial vehicle engines. Please welcome Mr. Keith Norman.
Good morning. Yes, I'm here to talk today about the problems of managing contaminated fuels and by the use of additives to help improve fuel quality and thereby increase the benefits of performance and engine reliability. I just want to give you a little bit of background about the company that we run. Dealer Choice is part of a UK-based group of companies that we specialise in a variety of fuel-related products and services. Dealer Choice itself provides specialist additives for engines and fuel systems, along with a group of antibacterial air conditioning treatments. And we can also manufacture bespoke products formulated to suit various requirements, specific applications and market conditions. Now our product range is for the professional motor industry only. All our products are through the professional workshop. Just to give you a little bit of background about the other groups of companies that we run, we're very much hands-on with regard to fuel contamination at the forecourt and at storage centres. So one of our companies is involved in commercial fuel testing and actual fuel sampling for clients. And then when we find problems, we actually provide fuel analysis and reports. And then if they do want to take the matter further, we provide actual tank and fuel cleaning. So we're very much hands-on with fuel contamination itself. And that's why we've developed Dealer Choice to provide fuel additives for the workshop to address the problems further up the chain with servicing. So fuel contamination, who is basically affected? Well, everybody in the fuel chain is affected. Certainly our clients, fuel retailers. In the UK we work with a lot of the major supermarkets or high volume retailers. And if they have contamination problems and they have pumps out of action for even just an hour or two, that can be thousands of pounds worth of lost revenue. We also work with other bulk storage operators, the diesel operators and commercial operators, the oil companies, and of course the vehicle owners themselves, you the owners and operators of your own vehicles. And garages and service centres are seeing problems of contamination as well. So why do we need clean fuel systems? As Steffen has already alluded to, we all expect from brand new our cars to be working perfectly. We want to improve and maintain our engine efficiency. We want to ensure optimum power and performance. And of course we want reliability and good fuel economy. And becoming ever more increasingly important, we want good fuel exhaust emissions. Now, modern engines are extremely sophisticated. They are highly engineered components that work within very fine tolerances. They're not designed to work with dirty or contaminated fuels. Therefore, to obtain the optimum performance and reliability that we require, it is essential for fuel systems to remain clean and to be maintained clean. Now, modern motoring often involves today a lot of short stop-start journeys that don't allow engines always to run at their optimum performance. And obviously this can adversely affect their reliability and fuel economy. When it comes to fuel quality, as a motorist, we really have no control over the quality of fuel that we put into our vehicles. We have no control over where the fuel that we buy is refined, or how well it is actually stored at the filling station. So in essence, we have no control over the quality of the fuel we put into our vehicles. However, we can decide when and where we have our vehicles serviced, where we take them to, how frequently we have our cars serviced. Now, to make sure it's running properly, your car needs to be thoroughly and regularly serviced. by experienced and well-trained technicians who understand the problems of modern fuels and modern motoring. With the correct information, you can actually make an informed decision about how best to look after your car. So if you understand the problems of fuel quality and the potential for contamination, and then ask for the right fuel additive, and there are many to choose from at every service. If you're in any doubt whatsoever, the best thing is to ask your technician or your service centre for advice. Indeed, ask the technicians themselves what sort of fuel additives they would recommend in their own vehicles. Now I want to briefly talk about contamination, and contamination basically is anything that adversely affects the quality of fuel. And I've put it into three types for today's presentation, and the first one is chemical contamination, second is physical debris, and third, which is probably the most important one that we've come across, is water contamination, which creates the environment for bacterial growth. So I want to briefly touch on chemical contamination. Well, the chemistry of certain blends of fuels mean that they react differently in certain conditions and environments. Diesels, for example, react differently to spirit blends in very low temperatures, and they can wax up or gel, which make them very difficult to use. And there's an adverse reaction that occurs in bioethanol blends, which is called phase separation, which can occur if sufficient water is present in the storage tanks. And as Stefan has already mentioned briefly, so I won't go into too much detail, is high sulfur content fuels, particularly in hot countries. And over the last few years, a lot of auto repair shops have been coming across engine problems such as engine knock and hard starting, rough idling, hesitation and pure fuel economy. Now, as Stefan's mentioned, we have a lot of problems with high sulfur fuel content. And the problems of injection clogging up can be due to actual sulfur crystallizing on the injector heads. Further research into sulfur levels around the world, and along with low levels of detergents coming from some fuels at some refineries, corroborates this fact. And we've learnt that in certain cases, fuel destined for one country where sulfur levels are relatively high can often end up being used in countries where the sulfur levels are relatively low. And here in the Middle East is a particularly good example where fuel destined for Saudi Arabia, which is traditionally high sulfur, may end up in the UAE, which is relatively low. Now the next two slides will actually illustrate the difference, and we'll find that where sulfur levels are above 50 parts per million, injector problems are more likely to occur in modern high pressure systems. Hence the requirement for the right sort of fuel additives to address these issues. So we go on to the world map to start off with, and you'll see that parts of North America and Europe, where we have relatively low levels of sulfur, 10 parts per million in most of Europe, North America 30 to 80 parts per million. But if we focus on the Middle East, you'll see a completely different picture. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, up to 2,500 parts per million, and that's quite a difference. UAE, relatively low, 100 to 150. So high sulfuring in gasoline and fuel is an issue that needs to be addressed and needs to be made aware of. So there are solutions, there are additives that are available that address these problems, not only to clean the normal residues from combustion, carbons, residues, varnishes and so on from the engine components, but will also actually dissolve the sulfur crystals from the injector heads. So I'm going to briefly talk about physical debris. Now, due to the very nature of how fuels are produced, transported and stored, there are many opportunities for debris to contaminate fuels. Now, of course, there are very good quality controls normally put in place for both production and transportation. And at storage depots and filling stations, good levels of tank and pump maintenance and management should always be observed. But despite the very best quality controls along with sophisticated filtration systems, debris will often find its way into the supply chain somewhere. And this is why fuel contamination as an issue needs to be managed rather than cured, as there is no permanent cure. So regular use of fuel additives will help minimise the damage if any debris can find its way in and if it's not captured before it enters your car's fuel system. So what does it look like? Physical debris comes in several forms. It's often microscopic and invisible to us, or it can normally be seen by the naked eye. And it will find its way through the various filters and get into the car engine. So regular use of fuel additives will maintain a clean fuel system, allowing filters to work efficiently at removing these particulates. And what does it look like? Well, certainly from the storage tank's point of view, we're talking about rust particles and dust, metal flakes and crusts, and from the storage tanks themselves there might be lined debris from storage tank walls and tank linings, and silts, gravels and fine sands that often come from the refining process. Now I would lastly want to talk about water contamination, which, as I say, is probably one of the most important levels of contamination, particularly in Europe. It's even more important with biofuels. Now in the UK and Europe we have biofuels are well established, and they're just starting to become introduced in the Middle East. Now if you can eliminate water, you can eliminate the source of most of the contamination problems. Once it's eliminated, it's then crucial to maintain that water-free environment, and hence the regular use of a water-absorbing additive. Now, water and fuel can take two forms. There's free water, visible water in drops or pools that can sit in water in tanks and pipework and fuel systems, or it can be invisible. It can be dissolved or emulsified within the fuel itself. Where does it come from? Well, some of it can come from the refining process itself in very tiny amounts. In Europe we have a particular problem of groundwater, and in storage tanks we can often find manhole chambers full of water, and with leaking joints and pipework, water can easily find its way into storage tanks. And mainly condensation or tank sweat, where you'll get high temperatures of diesel or spirit fuel being delivered into a relatively cold tank, and you'll get condensation. Now water is of course harmful to the normal combustion process and will damage engine components, but it does provide the environment for bacteria to grow. And we often refer to this as the diesel bug, although it can occur in spirit fuels as well. So the environment that we need for bacteria to grow are the following. We need hydrocarbons to provide the nutrients in the food. And this is where biofuels play an important role, because biofuels are very nutrient rich. In the same way that there's bacteria living in air conditioning systems, there are many types of bacteria that live in fuel. There are well over 120 different types of bacteria that live in fuel. We also need warm temperature and a lack of light, which is what you find in the environment of a storage tank. And of course water. Water plays its part because that provides the source of oxygen, as these bacteria are aerobic bacteria. So if you can remove the water source, you remove the source of oxygen. So all the bacteria will effectively suffocate and die. Now traditionally industry have used a lot of biocides and pesticides, and they will address the problems of killing off bacteria to a certain extent. But there's no one biocide product that will kill all the different types of bacteria. And so what will happen is those that are left will build up a resistance and become even more difficult to eradicate. But by removing the water source, you'll effectively remove the oxygen supply, and so all the different types of bacteria will be able to be killed off. And what does this contamination look like? Well, initially, if it starts growing, it can be invisible, but it's definitely still there. But given the right conditions, bacteria in tanks and in fuel systems will colonize and will grow into organic sludge, slimes and sediments, and thick, what we call biomass mattings. And the photograph on the right here shows a pump filter, and quite clearly that pump dispensing won't be dispensing any fuel. And that's obviously got to a stage where the contractors have called in and the filling station has stopped selling fuel, and those filters need to be cleaned out. Now these sludges and slimes can cause significant operational problems in the supply chain, and they can be transferred up from the storage tanks up into the fuel pump, where they can block nozzles and filters and pipework. And if they get into the vehicle's tank, obviously they can cause damage to engine components and fuel systems, adversely affecting performance and reliability. So to eradicate bacterial contamination, we need to use fuel additives that will remove water. Now, as I mentioned, in Europe, we're much further ahead in the Middle East in terms of the introduction of biofuels. In 2003, the European Union introduced a directive that stated by 2010 5.75% of transport fossil fuel should be replaced by biofuels. In the Middle East, it's just starting to be introduced in line with a strategy for green development and reducing carbon footprint and conserving natural resources. And the reasoning behind it is to reduce carbon emissions and the increase of renewable energy. Biofuels are manufactured from sustainable and renewable crops. There are two types. There's biodiesel and bioethanol. Biodiesels are manufactured from vegetable crops, rapeseed oil, palm oil and so on. And bioethanol, which is actually alcohol-based, are high in sugar and starch and produced from sugarcane, maize, corn and wheat. They're blended with traditional fossil fuels to create a mixture that can be used in modern vehicles without modification. So biofuels are here, they will continue to play an important role in the world's fuel supply, but we have to ensure that we're aware of the problems of contamination. So we have to make sure that we will remove bacterial contamination and hence the use of water removing additives. So in summary, we need to be informed and aware of the problems of fuel contamination. Biofuels are a significant problem. There are no permanent cures. These problems have to be managed. So the best idea is to ensure regular servicing of your vehicle by a professional. Use the correct additive to ensure your fuel system remains clean and water-free, ensuring optimum performance, reliability and good fuel economy, and more importantly these days, cleaner exhaust emissions. And if in doubt, take advice from your dealership or technician. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you. As a result of what Keith just presented, now every time I go to the petrol station to fill up, I'm now going to say to the man who's there to put the pump into the side of my car, can you guarantee the quality of this fuel you're putting in my car? Can you tell me that this is absolutely the best? I know that there was a comment made earlier this morning that this is a parts exhibition. This is an automotive parts exhibition. And tyres and batteries and all those other parts of the automotive industry are important. But of course what we've got here are three experts on fuels and oils and lubricants. Without fuels and oils and lubricants, what have we got? We've got a clunky mess. We've got some fancy cars that are not going to operate really well. So what I want to do now in terms of, I know we're running a little bit behind, but I think I'm going to give you an opportunity just to ask these gentlemen if there's any particular questions that you have. We've got them in the room. If we've got any questions, we've just got time for a couple of quick questions if there are any from people who have been listening this morning. Any questions? One right here. Microphone's on its way.
Good morning. Good morning. Now, I am from Nigeria, and it's as if you're addressing the situation we have personally. All the contamination you talked about for fuel are present. Unfortunately, we have a challenge, which is sometimes we don't even know the quality of the fuel coming into the country. We import a lot of petrol and diesel. Contamination level varies. And recently I had a very unfortunate incident happen in my workshop where a 2010 Honda Accord with about 7,000 miles on it knocked, the engine actually knocked. And for a while it has been a situation that the knock sensor has been triggering the code. You just notice that the check engine light comes on. You scan the car, you get a knock sensor code, you erase it, it goes back again, keeps coming back. But we realized that even after replacing the engine, we had to replace the fuel pump, the mass airflow sensor, and even the injector nozzles on the car before it could run again. Now, where do we start from? You have a brand new vehicle, you want to keep it running at optimum at all times so that at low mileage, you don't get an engine knock or something like that. Where exactly do you really start from? In terms of lubrication and in terms of the additive that we put on the fuel system to keep it running optimally.
I have to start off by saying I'm not technically minded, I am the operations director for our company, so I will probably have to refer that back to one of my technical people. But in terms of maintaining the quality of the fuel, if you have very little control over the quality of the fuel coming in, this is going to be a problem that is going to to be here for some time. So if there's no way of really controlling the quality of the fuel coming into the first place, that is something that you're going to see a lot more of. So it's important for manufacturers to work with the oil companies to find out if they can supply their fuel from other sources, or at least they can have some degree of level of quality, minimum quality of fuel coming into the country. Because clearly this is not going to be just a one-off problem, it's going to become more and more frequent. And there is no simple, easy answer. I mean, we're tracking it from the point of the storage and fuel retailers, and with Additives and with Steffen's company, we're all working to try and resolve the problems of the workshop. But we've got to look really at the source of the problem, and the source of the problem is what is the quality of the fuel coming through from the refineries. Until we're able to have some debate with the oil companies about providing a specification or a quality standard, then we're always going to have these problems that we're working on the back foot. So there is no quick, simple, easy answer.
One additional point?
Yeah, this doesn't necessarily go out to you, but all users of lubricants, everybody needs lubricants. Whenever you have the car, first owned, second owned, start using the best lubricant. What is our reason for not using the best lubricant? I'm not talking of ENOC, I'm talking of best lubricants. Our only reason is it's expensive. Expensive by how much? If I just compare between a bad lubricant and the highest lubricant, the difference, even if I take a fully synthetic, is not more than $100. But do you need $100 every day? At the most, $100 difference in 3 months, per day, per kilometer. It stands out to nothing. You only save your car, your fuel economy, and everything which is associated over there, including your dirt, cleanliness, everything from day one, by actually spending nothing. That $100 means nothing over a period of 3 months, which should be the earliest change over time. And with current high generation oils, next generation oils, it doesn't even happen in 3 months, it happens in 6 months. We are not changing below 20,000 kilometers. So for lubricants, from day one, there is no point to start later on. It should start from day one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should give a special thanks to the three gentlemen. The experts have been able to share their wisdom, their knowledge, and their expertise with us today in the all-important area of lubricants and fuels. Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, in 1 minute, we'll be starting the next session, so please be with us.